Cheers and happy Saturday. Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution. Have to admit, this is actually my second cup of coffee this morning because my computer had to go through those updates. Um, and I'm stubborn. I just don't set them to, okay, do this update at X time, which I need to do because sometimes, fortunately, this morning it's Saturday, so I'm not in a rush to go online. And I'm happy that the updates occurred today and not like on a weekday when I'm going live at 7 a.m. trying to hit that dot at 7 a.m. Today I'm actually early, even though with the updates putting me behind. I'm actually a little early. I said expect me to be on probably closer to 8, between 8 and 9, but closer to 8. Here we are, 7:45. So despite the updates, still on. So just kind of some random hodgepodge this morning. I do want to talk about the Cubs project because I finally updated my Cubs baseball card count, which I don't think I had updated since, judging on some of the postmarks of the mail that I was opening yesterday, since the middle of January. So I apologize to anybody who sent cards. I think Herman, I think your envelope had a January or February postmark. Brad, Texas Card Dude. I don't even know if Brad watches anymore. But Brad, if you're watching and listening, I think he had a January postmark on his. Jenny, I opened your PWE that was from like January or February. So thank you. And I do have piles of cards for people. So try to get those out. Victor, what's up? Good morning. So those were updated. Once I got all of them counted and organized, you can see that pile has grown. There's actually a new row of boxes stacked on top of each other. Those are all Cubs cards. So my this week, I really wanted to tackle get into cleanup mode. So early part of the week, I spent listing a bunch of cards. I wanted to get over that 11,000 threshold to allow me some extra time to get organized and clean things up. So I've actually seen some great tips on how to organize eBay store inventory. So I'm going to put that into place starting next week once I get some more listings up and going. So I'm going to do that. So after I after I counted all of the Cubs mail uh, and got those organized, I was putting some of the empty box, some were in like 400 count boxes, 500 count boxes, 800 count boxes. So I was kind of consolidating them into 4-row boxes because they're easier to transport, especially when you're dealing with bulk Cubs cards. So I go into my storage area and put the smaller empty boxes in their place, and I have I had a box that I would take to the card shows that I set up at, and so it had just random stuff, sharpies, paper, um, post-it notes, business cards, pens, penny sleeves, top loaders, small boxes, and I would throw in when people would say, "Oh, you're the Cubs guy. Here's a box of Cubs." I would put those in this box as well. So as I looked in and I'm like, I saw two boxes next to that box, which were all Cubs cards, and then there was a box inside one of those boxes. Which, by the way, there may be another one or two because I was just at the Rockford show. And I have a couple more of those boxes that I've been taking to shows. So there may be another box with Cubs cards somewhere. So I got those counted. So I was at 754,000 after my initial count. And then I found over 1,000 more, 1,113 to be exact, in those 3 other boxes. So did that count. So the official count is now 755,113 Cubs cards. Now, that number is going to increase dramatically this morning because my guy David is on his way up to Madison as we speak. We're going to meet up in a couple hours, and he's got 40,000 Cubs cards for me. David has now, after today, will have provided almost 150,000 Cubs cards to the 1 million Cubs project. So we're going to be meeting up later this morning. So that'll put the Cubs count really close to 800,000 Cubs cards, and there may be a couple hundred more that are still out in my car. I've got to go check. Zach's with us. What's up? You have a good 200 more coming in a few weeks. Porter is counting them and reorganizing them in team bags weekly. That's awesome. Was just watching an awesome interview series with Nolan Ryan and Pete Rose. You were lucky I turned over to you, as it is glorious to watch and listen. Very cool. Very cool. Last night, P and me added more 91 Upper Deck basketball into trading card database. I hate variations, dumb holograms. You hate, Zach, how can you hate holograms? I'm disappointed in that take. Being as we're the same age, like holograms were like the holy grail of the hobby in 1991 and 92. They still give me like goosebumps when I opened the 91 Upper Deck football box and I pulled like a Neil Anderson hologram. I mean, it took me back to when I was 9, 10 years old in pulling those holograms. Like, man, Barry Sanders holograms, almost as bad as the early 90s Donruss and Leaf. John is with us. What's up, John? I think it's probably good afternoon to you across the pond. Don't make weekend episodes live too often, but here we are. Welcome in. Victor says, wow, 755K. Congrats. I collect all Cubs, but no way I'm getting to your stat. This is probably a good thing. So I do want to talk about, because I haven't, one of the reasons I started this show was to give kind of a daily update on the project. And just as the hobby for myself has evolved, and I guess here we are, it's ever evolving, and that's why I named this daily video series Hobby Evolution, because I just looked back at the history of myself collecting cards and how it's evolved over time. It went from just buying wax packs at my local IGA, anywhere from 89 Topps baseball to Dick Tracy, even New Kids on the Block cards. I loved non-sports cards back in the 1989, 90. And then I started collecting Cubs cards in 1989 with that team set. And I had and I blogged about this a few years ago. What's a fuzzy good memory of writing that blog post. And it was, I think the concept of the blog post was how things kind of take me. Like, I've had in the past where I don't anymore. I've had hobby ADD where I just want anything and everything. And I'll like, oh, look, squirrel. I want to go collect squirrels now. That doesn't make sense. But it reminded me of the McDonald's the plastic McDonald's lunch boxes that I think you got with Happy Meals back in the late 90s. That's how I carried around, and they weren't in sleeves. They were just all banged up, but it was my Cubs team collection. Oh, the warm fuzzies about that blog. I actually wrote that blog post in my phone's notepad while on a train through Italy I think that was from Naples from Rome to Florence, I think is when I wrote that blog. So on a train in the Italian countryside, Tuscany, and was writing that blog post out. So a fun memory, but that's how, my very first Cubs collecting back in 1989. I remember hitting 100 Cubs cards, which, when you're 7 years old, and there's only 3, I guess there was 4 brands at that point, 5 and some oddball stuff. Topps, Donruss, Fleer, Score, and Upper Deck. So we had 5, and then we had, the oddball food issue stuff. So 100 for a 7-year-old in 1989 was kind of a lot. I remember that was a big deal. Maybe that was my introduction to milestones in collecting. So that was the very first part of Cubs cards collecting back in 1989. Zach hates the hologram variation on the back up of the card. Oh, gotcha. Not the holograms itself. I love holograms. Okay, the variations. Got it. Some of the cards have different back hologram diamonds versus letters. Gotcha. Okay, now I understand. John says, it is afternoon here. It's also FA Cup semifinal day, and as a Liverpool fan, I'm a bit nervous now. I do not know anything about the football. I know maybe 5 soccer player current names, and that's just from cards that I like. when I look up. Caden Clark, because I have a rookie card over here and one just sold. Who else? Uh, Gosh, I don't Caden Clark. I'm trying to think of other players. Um, I'm drawing a blank. I know there's some like big hobby names in soccer, but I'm drawing a blank. Victor says, "Are you only collecting common or relic auto cards?" So I collect everything. Cubs. Did I just hear soccer? Not a pleasant way to wake up. Soccer talk's done. Mo Salah's at Liverpool, maybe him. Never heard of that guy. never heard of that guy. I can actually name more women's soccer players than professional men's soccer players because of the U.S. women's team. Um, so I do, I collect commons, relic cards, autos. Um, my thing right now is So when I buy, if I'm not buying bulk Cubs cards, I'm buying pre-war vintage oddball stuff. So if I go to a card show, I'm gonna pick up, and my buying is, since in the last 6 months since I went hobby to business full time, it's not what it used to be where I would just go buy, whatever I liked and didn't have. Um, cool. Move on then. Should we talk about the Rockies last night? No, let's not. No. I know where you're going with that. No. Um, so um where was I at? So I'm buying like pre-war stuff like that. Although if I catch something that when I got back from spring training, I was watching a lot of the minor league stuff, and I don't have, some of the off-brand Leaf, Onyx, Pro Set, those types of cards. I came back and I bought some like Christian Hernandez cards from like the Pro Set baseball, Ryan Jensen auto. So some of that stuff, I pick up a little. If most of the time when people like tag me in a tweet, it's not something I'm interested in. Though every once in a while, there was one of the most recent. It's been a few months, I think, was a Joe Tinker Topps Magic stickers or something. It was the very first Topps baseball release in I think 1950 or 1949 or 48, and it was Joe Tinker. So somebody tagged me. I'm like, hey, that's really cool. It's semi rare. I'm gonna buy that. But most of the time, if it's like Ian Happ, Nico Horner, even Chris Bryant, it's like a dime a dozen stuff. I don't really pick up. I'm more into the vintage, but I do like prospects. I'm an enigma in that regard because I really enjoy the first cards of new Cubs prospects, but I also love the 1800s old Judge, Allen and Ginter, in those old cards. Cracker Jack. I only have one Cracker Jack. It is a Joe Tinker, and it's technically not even a Cubs card. It's a Chicago Federals, or I think, Chicago Federal League card. Chicago Whales of the Federal League. Ken says, I once tagged you in an interesting. So yeah, Ken actually tagged me in a Goodwill tweet that led me to buying pallets of cards from Goodwill. DR is with us. What is up, DR? If you celebrate Easter, I hope you have a happy Easter. Passover began last night. My wife's family is Jewish. I grew up non-practicing. I guess if we were associated with a church, it would have been the Methodist Church, but not into that. Not into religion or anything like that. Zach says Bo needs to continue his Dylan Cease top collector status on TCDB and venture to the Southside. Man, I miss Dylan Cease. So when Dylan Cease and Eloy Jimenez were traded to the White Sox from the Cubs for Jose Quintana, I was excited to get Jose Quintana, but not at the price. I was okay giving up Eloy, where most of Cubs fandom was like, oh my God, how could you? But he was kind of blocked at the time. Like there was a lot of talent with the Cubs. And Dylan Cease was, I was basically super collecting Dylan Cease in 2014 and in 2015. And it's like, I knew that he was, he was coming off Tommy John like shortly after he was drafted, and he had some injury issues, and it was like, man, Dylan Cease may not ever make it because of his injury history. And then all of a sudden he started climbing the ladder, and it's like, and that's what led me to actually sell during my run to collect a million Cubs. I actually sold a Dylan. I think I sold two Dylan Cease cards because of you know I think I bought the gold refractor auto for $35 and I was able to sell it for like 215. My goal initially was I liked Dylan Cease. Kind of going back a few episodes ago, what I'm buying at retail, I'm buying to hold and rip, to hold or rip, where I'm not going to buy something to hold it and potentially flip it if I don't want to rip it. So, uh, I want something if I want to buy and hold, if it doesn't increase in value sealed, at least I can open it and enjoy ripping it. So that was my thought process with Dylan Cease. If I'm gonna go into this prospecting game, I want to prospect Cubs. So at least if they don't pan out, and we all know the Cubs' history with prospects, many of them don't, most of them don't. Uh, Pitchers, especially with Tommy John, coming out of high school, this is, a tricky situation. So the idea was I'm going to prospect him, and if I can, make some money back, I'm going to do it, and I did. And I think at this point in time, Dylan Cease is off to a really, really good start with the White Sox this season through two starts. Small sample size, but I don't want to look at what those gold refractor auto prices are. Your wife has to hate me for that. Hate's a strong word, but I don't think I don't think you're getting a Christmas card. Well, you guys got us back with that Kimbrel trade. There you go. That worked out, though it hasn't. It really, it's kind of it actually, that Kimbrel trade is a non issue for either team at this point. It's kind of going along with the Quintana for Eloy and Cease, where really, I think Eloy and Dylan have done much better for the White Sox than what Quintana did for the Cubs. I think that's goes without saying, and there's still potential to do big things for the two guys in the White Sox, where Quintana is no longer with Cubs, didn't provide much winning, and the White Sox haven't won anything. So, the ultimate goal is to build these pieces and build a World Series winner. So there's still opportunity with Dylan Cease and Eloy Jimenez. And on the same token, with the Kimbrel trade, there is potential, but really is Nick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer. I don't think that, you never know. Nick Madrigal not off to a good start with the Cubs. Hoyer, I think, had Tommy John. So, I know Kimbrel's not with the White Sox anymore. So it's kind of like, it's, it's just kind of a what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Just a non-factor, I guess. Larry's with us, been watching a while, big Cub fan, great content. That's awesome. Thanks for jumping in the chat. I appreciate that. Zach says he looks like a pitcher now, got Boris as an agent, so he won't be Sox for long. The first opportunity, Scott Boris is going to be sending Dylan to the highest bidder. He is a great guy to like, and he's a fellow card collector. He's an awesome guy. There's a Twitter feed. It's called Dylan Cease Watch, and I created that back in like 2015. And I think his brother actually reached out to me and wanted to buy the Twitter account from me, because I had once he got traded, I think it was a family member. I think it was his brother, but it might have been another family member. Reached out, and because I had kind of like slacked off once he got traded to the White Sox, it's like it wasn't as, I wasn't following him as closely. I still have followed him, and I do, when I dig through bargain boxes, I will pull out Dylan Cease cards. I think I even bought an autograph, a White Sox autograph, just because at one point I semi super collected him. So, and yeah, I need to start registering some more of my cards on TCDB. How far have I fallen? I think I was at number 1 at one point. But I I both stopped collecting Dylan Cease cards pretty much. And then also I stopped entering any cards on TCDB. Although I did add some when I was at spring training and I was just sitting at the hotel, my buddy Tommy gave me about 200, 300 Cubs cards. And so I started logging some of those just to, it's like, I need to get a little more organized with my Cubs collection and just kind of see what I have. So I was doing that. But now that I'm back home, I'm, a lot of other distractions. So TCDB kind of takes a backseat. Dylan's he's also a really good dude. Like he's a really friendly guy. Good guy. We look at it as we got Polak for Madrigal. I will do that every day, considering that Kim was a wet fart on the south side. I like Cody though. Good morning, Wisconsin. What's up, Diego? Good morning, New Jersey. Um, so the what else did I want to talk? So the Cubs count is at 755 plus and going up today. So I wanted to talk about the genesis of going into business for myself, and there was a lot of different things going on to go in, but I think you can really attribute the 1 million Cubs project to really starting the process of me going full time, even if I didn't know it back in 2017 and in 2018. Because once I got really going in 2018, it kind of the project really took off almost instantly. I started it in December of 2017, created the website, put out a couple blog posts, and then I kind of ventured over from Facebook. I was really more heavily into Facebook groups, hobby related Facebook groups, as opposed to Twitter. I was a little nervous, skeptical of Twitter and doing trades because I thought with Facebook, at least it's like real people, whereas Twitter, it's a lot of just there's a lot of anonymity on Twitter. And it's really what I've come to find out is Twitter is a way better social media platform than Facebook. Even though your name is usually attached on Facebook, there's a lot of idiots on Facebook. And there's some idiots on Twitter, but far more on Facebook than there is Twitter. Hobby Twitter is way better than Facebook. So if you watch these videos and you're not in hobby Twitter, just maybe lurk for a while, just kind of follow different people. I'm at 1 million Cubs. And just check out hobby accounts and it's a really close-knit community. So once I found hobby Twitter and really started building the Twitter stuff, and I started getting trades and trades and trades and it wasn't, early on, it was like I was like on Facebook groups. I need Cubs cards because I had so many. I started the project because I had 1 million cards. Now I'm closing in on 3 million. I had 1 million cards. I don't want 1 million junk wax era cards. So I want to trade these, but you can't sell junk wax, especially in 2017 and 2018. And I had done in the past team trades, various parts in my hobby history. So I'll just trade a bunch of random White Sox cards for Cubs cards, and that's essentially how that started. But guess what? Postage costs money, and when you're doing a lot of trades, especially in bulk, those shipping charges really add up, and it's like I think I spent in the first year over $5,000 on postage for trades. So it's like I've got to do something to counter all of the money I'm spending on postage, and that's where I started building up my eBay store. Of course, no Cubs are for sale in my eBay store, and that's what started building my eBay up. And then when eBay allowed sellers with eBay stores, like 50,000 listings when the pandemic hit, that's what really because I had plenty of inventory. I just didn't want to spend 20 cents per insertion listing. And that's, I talked yesterday, that's what's been holding me away from ComC is I don't like that 50 cent per card listing fee. I don't like insertion fees. So, that's what really kicked it off. And when that hit, and then tied into the pandemic and the hobby boom, it was just a perfect storm and synergy and all those buzzwords. So that's but I think the genesis was building my eBay store from the need to make more hobby money, more side money, to afford all the shipping that I was doing in these trades. So that's kind of where the genesis of going into business, you can kind of account it the very beginning of doing that. DR says, have you ever met another million collector of any other team? So once I started early on, they kind of came out of the woodwork. Um, once the 1 million Cubs project got some movement, all of a sudden there was probably at one point in time, and I would say probably midway through 2018, there was probably 5 or 6 other collectors trying to collect a million of different teams. I know there were at one time 2 Yankees million trying to collect a million Yankees. There was a Tiger, although I think the Tigers guy was 500,000. There was an Orioles at one point. Let's see. There was, what else was there? Was there a Royals, Rangers? Um, I think a Rangers guy. But it didn't last long, and I think I wrote a blog post when there were so many starting to come up, and people reach out like, "Hey, is it okay?" Oh, there was a Dodgers guy, and the Dodgers guy wanted to do like a network of almost like a community, and I just want to do my own thing. I didn't want to be a part of any million card networks. And so they kind of folded pretty quickly, and that's because I mean, a million cards takes up a lot of space. As you see behind me, it's completely a mess, disorganized, takes up, a card room. Um, and it costs a lot of money to, I mean, to either buy or trade for because you've got those postage. Like today, I'm gaining 40,000 cards. It's the best because it's an in-person trade slash purchase. So those are always the best. So that's kind of where it's at. And at various points there's been, and I think I don't know if somebody emailed me recently. I'm really bad at responding to emails. But I think there was somebody that wanted to do a football, and they're like, "Hey, I just wanted to reach out and see if you were cool with me collecting a million." I'm like, yeah, I don't have a trademark on million collecting goals. So if you want to do it. Um, let's see. So yeah, there's been a few million card collectors of various teams throughout the last few years, but none to my knowledge have stuck. Let's see. Zach says we are 14 on TCDB with 35 unique, and you are 25th with 28 unique. Top Spot has 68 unique. Oh man. Whenever I see like that on it fuels me to like want to climb that leaderboard. Top 15 have a lot of usernames with Cub in them. Interesting. I'm not on Facebook. Hobby Twitter is church. There you go. I agree with that. I actually have a couple Dylan Cease cards, I think, sitting out because since they're White Sox cards, I don't put them in with my Cubs cards, but they're with some Cubs cards sitting out on like a shelf. So maybe I should just file those away. And I do have a Dylan Cease binder still, so maybe I should throw those in my binder. Let's see. Victor says I haven't jumped into the video content on YouTube. I have a social media friend that has to be heading to million St. Louis Cardinal cards. I do have I'm always running low on Cardinals because I've had a couple people that are like bulk collectors, and there are a lot of team collectors out there that collect teams, but I don't know specifically if there are still any out there actively seeking. Oh, there was an Expos. I think Mike Matson on Twitter. I think he's still kind of going for a million Expos, just here and there. But I do. In fact, the guy I'm trading with today, he's always looking for Cardinals cards, and I think Red Sox, and those are two teams that typically go faster than any other. And I actually got a. Yeah, I don't think I have any Cardinals. I was starting to pull Cardinals, and then I kind of stopped pulling them. So that's some Cubs talk. What else did I want to talk about? Overtime Elite. So I picked up last week. I did make a retail run. I made several retail runs yesterday because why not? I suffered through Costco on a Friday before Easter, and I pull in the parking. So I went Wednesday. I went, or was it Thursday? Wednesday or Thursday. I went into Costco because we needed a few things. I needed envelopes and paper, copy paper, and Costco has the best prices in bulk. So I went in Wednesday or Thursday, and it was pouring rain. And went in and I got the food stuff, and I'm like, I'll just come back. I'll come back and get my paper products, on Friday, because I didn't want, to haul them out in the rain, pouring rain, paper products. So I pull into Costco yesterday, right around lunch hour, and initially I thought this maybe I should have waited until after the lunch rush because our Costco in Middleton, Wisconsin, is located like right smack dab in all of the office areas. So a lot of people from the office areas will go to Costco because you can get a hot dog and a large soda for like what, $2? It's crazy. And the hot dogs are like huge. And the pizza's good. So there's always during the week, there's a big lunch crowd. So I'm thinking, I went, it's about 12:30 yesterday, and it's like, maybe I should have waited, but I wanted to run to Walmart, get there early afternoon just to, see if it had been stocked. So pull into the parking lot. Like, geez, there's people everywhere. I had to park all the way in the back 40. So I go in and it's just an absolute madhouse. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then I realized it's Good Friday, good Easter weekend and Passover, coincide this year. So there's a lot of holiday shoppers getting ready for their Seders, getting ready for Easter dinner. So it's like, oh boy, here we go. So I go in, I get my from what I've read on social media, like envelopes are hard to find. Fortunately, they were fully stocked. I bought what 6,000, no 3,000 envelopes. Will that's good for about 2 months. And one of those like freaking 100-pound boxes of copy paper, heavy as heck. Um, got that, and then I had to pick up some other random things that I forgot earlier. So waited in line, waited in line, waited in line. So I'm like, you know what? And I had to go to the grocery store too. And it's like, well, it's going to be a madhouse there. I might as well just hit all the retail stops and just do a retail afternoon. So go to Costco. And then I go to the first Walmart. They had, it looked like it may have been recently fully stocked, but there was nothing of note. The only thing I really would have picked up is if they had WWE Prism blasters or Overtime Elite, and they did not. I bought these last week. So then I went I'm like, well, I might as well just go to the other Walmart that's just down the road. Went there, kind of the same, nothing that I wanted. They did have a lot of penny sleeves though, but I'm good on penny sleeves. So then I went back to, so then I had to go to the grocery store, which is right next to Target. So I'm like, I'm going to pop into Target because I didn't go last week. And they didn't really have anything. So then I went grocery shopping. So nothing in retail, but I did this week. I did open Overtime Elite. So these are the hits and also some of the players to look out for. So because you've likely, if you don't like follow like NBA mock drafts, you probably don't know anything about these players because there's not much media coverage for Overtime Elite basketball. And it's kind of it's pro. It's kind of a minor league for basketball, but there's not a lot of sexy names in this product, but it's chrome and they're really nice. So my goal, my thinking was kind of in going back, and I think I used this product as an example for buying retail that I eventually want to either flip or rip because there's potential because most of these kids, and they are kids, they're how old? It doesn't even have their ages on here. But they're young, they're potential first round draft picks in the NBA. So, many of these players, some of these players, possibly many of these players will be in the NBA in the next couple of years. So eventually they could be household names or familiar if you follow the NBA. So I do. I love mock drafts, and I don't follow the NBA as much. Um, I haven't done followed the NBA as much, but I love college basketball. I love high school basketball, so I follow the players from like high school and college, and then when they get to the NBA, it's like, oh, good for you. I'm going to move on and watch the next class come up. Uh, but I love following mock drafts. So, and that's kind of where I stopped following basketball at the mock draft. Um, I opened one blaster box. I bought three last week. I bought three blaster boxes. I decided to rip one this week, dealing with the allergy headache. So I ripped one open. I've got two, and I actually ordered. You can buy them on Target, $19.99 on Target. I mean, that's a great deal. Go to Target, $19.99, free shipping. Hell of a deal. And it's a fun product to just sit on or rip, and you can pull some hits. And some of these do sell. There are some that do sell well on the secondary market on eBay and stuff. But it's definitely a Bowman-ish, and I love Bowman. It's a Bowman-ish product for basketball. So Luis Duarte, he's a cousin of Chris Duarte, who was a first-round pick out of Indiana. This is I don't know what color this is, but it's numbered to 199. Now, I have not seen him in any mock drafts. He is the draft class, and what's cool is on the back, it has their basically just their position, height, weight, hometown, and draft class, which is really helpful. So you can look like 2023 mock draft, and you can see, and they're listed as overtime elite in these mock drafts. So I quickly looked at one mock draft this morning. I don't remember seeing Luis Duarte on a mock draft for a first or second round for next year's NBA draft, but I'm going to look more into it this weekend. There's two Ray Waves for box. Now, these two class of 20, John Ed Walker is this year's draft class. Izan Almansa is 2024 draft class. These are the Ray Wave refractors, two per box. I love these Ray Waves. Love the baseball, but these are cool as well. These two players I have not seen in mock drafts that I've looked at. I pulled a Ray Wave green, Ryan Bewley, numbered to 75. Now, Ryan Bewley is in the 2024 draft class. I think he's mocked as a second round pick. His brother, Matt Bewley, is a much higher prospect, but this is Ryan Bewley. He's a 6'8" forward out of Fort Lauderdale. And he's a twin. Matt's his twin brother. So Ryan Bewley. Now, some of the prospects. This is a Gene Montero refractor. He is in this year's draft class. At one point, he was actually early in the basketball season. He was in some mocks a projected lottery pick, though he has fallen in recent mock drafts. I've seen him anywhere from like pick 15, 16, all the way into the second round, like early second round pick. But Gene Montero has the potential to be a first round pick June? When's the NBA draft? June, I believe. So this is Gene Montero. So he's the most, he's the closest. Here's a couple more. I pulled three Gene Monteros, the refractor, and then two base chromes. Gene Montero. Dominic Barlow, he's also in this year's draft class. He's mocked as a second round pick, like somewhere in the middle of the second round, maybe the end of the second round. I've seen a mock where he wasn't even listed in the first two rounds. So Dominic Barlow, he's in this year's draft class and could be a second round pick. Probably the biggest names out of this product are the Thompson Twins, not to be confused with the 80s band. And I don't know how to pronounce their names. They both start with A. Osar, I think. This is Osar, and Amen. That's how it's spelled, Amen, the Thompson Twins. They're in next year's draft class, 2023. They are both projected to be in the lottery. So the Thompson Twins are projected lottery picks next year. So these could be big cards eventually. But as we know with prospects, and especially if you follow mock drafts, they could fall from the lottery into not being drafted in the next, year plus. They could go from being an undrafted in mocks this year to being lottery picks next year. Basketball's funny like that. Tyler Smith, I pulled three of his cards. Tyler Smith, I think one's a refractor there on the end. He's a projected first round pick in 2024. So still a ways out. So a lot can change with Tyler Smith. There's actually 3 players in this product that are projected first rounders in 2024. Tyler Smith and Matt Bewley. And then I can't remember the third. I don't have a card of him. But here's Matt Bewley, Ryan's twin brother, and then another card, another refractor of Ryan Bewley. In fact, I pulled the 2 Ryan Bewley refractors and the Matt Bewley base chrome in one pack of 4 cards. So 3 of the 4 cards were Bewley brothers. So those are the hits from Overtime Elite. So the blaster that I opened, I'm just going to put those singles in a box, put them on a shelf. Hopefully I can find it when their names start popping up more and more, and flip, and then I'll keep a couple of blasters up on my shelf. I bought 3 more blasters off the Target website this morning, and I'll put those on a shelf as well. Let's go to the chat. TJ, good to see you in the chat. Good morning. Good lunch choices. Talking about Costco. My kids love it. Oh, it's a great place to take the kids for lunch. Cooter says, all the talk of 1 million cards had me wondering. So in case you haven't done the math, 1 million cards end to end will span just over 55 miles. That's right. Yeah. Standard card size 2x3, 55 miles. Yes. I have done that because sometimes when people use million and this is what I learned early on. And there's actually a guy that works at my post office where I opened a P.O. box. And so he sees these every day, and he always comments like, you're not at 1 million yet? It's like 1 million's a lot of damn baseball cards. So I kind of explained it wasn't a line or anything. So he had like a big, heavy, medium flat rate box. And I said, there's probably 2,500-ish cards in this box. 2,500 cards. So do the math. So what's 1 million divided by 2,500? I should know that. But I'm going to get a calculator out. But remember when your teachers back in the day said, you're not always going to have a calculator on it. Yeah, there's a calculator in my pocket 24 hours a day. So that's 400. So I told him, I'm like, that's 2,500 cards. So it's going to take 400 of these to get to 1 million. And as you know, handling my mail, I don't get these medium flat rate boxes often. Usually they're smaller boxes or even bubble mailers with 30 cards. So, when you say like that's not a lot, 400 medium flat rate boxes, it really doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. So when you put it into a context like Cooter did, 55 miles, that's where you like, oh, that's a lot. And when you start attaching, especially when you're talking shipping, so 400 doesn't sound like a lot, but say $15 for a medium flat rate box, that's 6,000. That doesn't seem like a lot because my numbers are far more than 6,000. But I think so when you do the medium flat rate, it's like, oh, well, that's not a lot. But say a bubble mailer's $4 and you put 50 cards. Well, 1 million divided by 50, that's 20,000 bubble mailers. So because most people don't have 3,000 Cubs cards or any other team cards just sitting around to trade. And then when they do, it may take them a few years to gain more. It's pretty rare to find a guy that is buying bulk all the time, buying collections, sorting it out in teams, and then trading it to me. I found 2 people, I think, in the last 5 years that do that. So 20,000. So say the average is 50 cards in a bubble mailer. Bubble mailers cost $4 about. 20,000 times 4. Now you're talking. So in return, that's $80,000 that it would cost to ship 50 cards at a time to reach 1 million. That really puts it more into perspective, like Cooter's 55 miles of cards back to back. Because when you do the bulk, it's like, say 5,000 5-row, 5,000 count the 5-row boxes. And it's like, that's 200. That's like a small number. 200. Oh yeah, 200 5-row boxes. That's not much. But it really is. Zach says, I'm super excited. Agreed on 2 trades that have 86 Donruss McGriff rated rookie, Canseco rated rookie, and Will Clark tops traded headed our way. Cardboard gold. I would agree with that. Those are awesome cards. I don't think I have ever owned the Jose Canseco rated rookie card. I may have acquired, I'm sure I've acquired one in some collection or bulk buy, but I like immediately listed it on eBay, in which, I mean, even if I picked up a collection today and it had a Conseco rated rookie, I mean, it'd probably be one of the first to be listed on eBay. Um, but I mean, if I even have had a Conseco rated rookie, I mean, we're talking maybe one in my entire collecting, because back in, when I was a kid collecting in that era, I mean, it was like $100 card at one time. When you're 7, it's a hell of a lot of money. I mean, I hated putting down like $3 for a card, back when I was, because that was like a week's allowance in the day. I think the McGriff rated rookie is a Ray Wave blue dimple refractor, but not 100%. The picture was too reflective and shiny. Let's see. John says, any other aims after you get to 2 million? Definitely not a 2 million Cubs project. There's no way that that's going to happen. But what I've said in the past is I want to try to organize it. And I think that's still, especially when I gather cards up to take for autographs to spring trading or the Cubs convention, it's really annoying. Or I had a customer come up, wanted an 85 Donruss Sandberg. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can find that. I've probably spent 3 hours just randomly looking for a Sandberg 85 Donruss. I probably have 50 to 100 in those boxes. I just can't find the damn thing, or one of the damn things. Um, so I do want to get more organized. Um, and I will still collect Cubs cards, absolutely. There won't be another milestone. Like, I won't be trying to collect 2 million. I won't be trying to collect 1.5 million, but I'll be trying to fill holes in sets. I'll continue to buy current products. I'll continue to fill in holes on pre-war, vintage, and all that. So, I'll still definitely be collecting Cubs cards. I won't be buying bulk. I won't be picking up 40,000 commons from the 80s and 90s. That's one thing I won't be doing. So once I hit 1 million, the bulk is done, and then it's time to fill out. Maybe find some time to not find some time, make some time. Talked about that last week. Make some time to dedicate maybe an hour a day to TCDB, to sorting and organizing. My buddy Scott, who comes to the Madison now, he's coming to the Rockford shows, has expressed some interest in maybe sorting some Cubs. So I'll definitely take him up on that offer. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at once I hit 1 million. I'm still projecting. So my projection was hitting 1 million around the time of the National next year when it's back in Chicago, which would be ideal. The Nationals in the city, and I have some cards that I want to be, 1 million. My thought process with it is, you look at it, and I've got 755,000. I'm going to be adding 40,000 more, so I'm going to be close to 800,000 here in the next week. And you're like, well, that's still 200,000 away, and you're looking at what, 15 months. That's but I think once I hit 900,000, I've had so many people say, "Oh, I've been saving up. I want to be the millionth card sent in." So what I'll probably do is, once they start coming in, because I want the millionth card to be, I don't want it to be the 500,000th card. Was pretty cool. I think Brian from Arizona. I think I hit the 500,000 card mark with one of his packages. It was an Andre Dawson card. But I'm basically, once I get to like 999,900, I'm going to be very careful in what I open, because I want the 1 millionth card to be special. Or, as I approach the last 10 cards, I want them to be special. So I don't want it to be like a random. So it won't be, I will say, the millionth card will not come from a random trade, because I'm going to be very methodical with how I approach 1 million. Where once I get to 999,990 or thereabouts, I'm going to be very careful. And maybe it's 999,900, and then hopefully it's around the time of the National, so I can, those last 100 cards, are personal purchases, or personal trades, but it's my choice of what I, and I'll be able to capture the final 100. So that's kind of my plan. That's my plan. So now I probably just ruined it for everyone, and now now nobody's gonna send me their Cubs cards. So that's and I still my goal was pretty optimistic for 2022, 900,000. But hey, I'll hit 800,000 maybe by the end of April. So I don't know if I'll hit 900,000 by the end of the year, but I think I'll still come somewhat close. And then I may have to go into overdrive because I really do want the millionth card to come at the National in Chicago. I think that's just appropriate. Let's see. TJ says, I remember my buddy spending $100 for the 86 Donruss Canseco. It was crazy. I also remember seeing the same card in the dollar bin years later. And there has been a resurgence. Like, I don't know what recent comps are, but um, I think I was surprised. I think I made like $10. I think I sold my because I think I did and the reason I think I acquired one in the Craigslist collection because there was a lot of those types of cards. But what I do remember is there were a couple Madison Muskies sets with Jose Canseco, and then there was also 2 tickets to his very first Madison Muskies game. Of course, it was rained out, so they were full tickets. Um, Back when I sold them, I think I sold them for and I reached out to Tanner, the Canseco super collector, to get his opinion. By that point, he was already out of the Canseco collecting game, but I wanted his opinion because he was, in the middle of that circle. So reached out to him, and he's like, and remember, this is probably 2018. Tickets weren't really a thing. They were still collectible. There was a small community. They've really blown up here over the last 2 years. So he's like, I think he's the right buyer might pay 50 per ticket, put it $50 or best offer and just kind of field offers. And so that's what I did. And I think somebody came in like within a few days and offered $30 per ticket. And, uh, I pulled the trigger like, hey, 30, they were just randomly in the corner of a box. So I was very happy with making $60 off 2 tickets that I had no idea had any value. Jenny says, just play April Fools on 2023 and say you're at 955K, and then everyone will send their boxes. Rich says Tanner actually still collects Canseco stuff, but only really high-end material now. He's not chasing everything. Yeah. So at the time, back in 2018, when I had this and reached out to him, he had pretty much stopped collecting Canseco. He was actually in the process of selling all of his stuff. And then not long after, he started collecting Canseco stuff again. So there was a time, and I think it was around the time his book came out, or I can't remember all the timing. But this was after he stopped collecting and before he started collecting more specifically Canseco stuff. So that's what I had for today. I didn't expect when I was thinking about my topics for the day this morning, I'm like, this is going to be like a 15-minute show. And actually, this is like the time that I was supposed to leave, but my guy is running an hour late, so I actually had extra time, and it'll give me time to move some boxes around in my car to add 40,000 more cards in there. So Brian is there. There is a Nolan Ryan documentary. Interesting. What platform is it on? Because I don't, I know Nolan Ryan's story, kind of. But I don't really know. Coming out on my birthday. Very cool. I know I know like the Nolan Ryan story that pretty much everybody knows, the 7 no-hitters, the lineage of his teams, the 200 some pitches he threw in some games. It'll be in theaters on May 24th, one night only. Very cool. That is unique. I like that. That's what Pearl Jam, the strikeouts. That's what Pearl Jam did with their documentary on Let's Play 2. I saw it in the theater here in Madison. Rich says, "Oh, one other thing I wanted to point out about taxes is my accountant always reminds me you don't have to pay 100% at once. Yes, you can do installments. Yep, absolutely. Instead, you can do a third, a third, and a third. You'll get lovely notes from the IRS saying you still owe, but less of an immediate impact. Yep, absolutely. You can do installments. I'm sorting over 1,000 cards to put away that I listed on eBay. Very cool. Yeah, I'm still kind of in. Today is more shipping and organization. Um, and and then I need to tackle this room. This is kind of last because it's not like in the storage area for everything else in my rec room. So I'm kind of on a spring cleaning binge. Pearl Jam does have cards when they played at Wrigley. Yes, Rich, they do. In fact, um, I have. Let's see. I have one unopened pack left from 2018 that was used on. They used the NBA hoops design from 1990. Which why did they use that? Because that was the rookie year of Mookie Blaylock. Mookie Blaylock was the original name of the band Pearl Jam. And then they thought we might get in trouble using the name Mookie Blaylock. So they changed their name to Pearl Jam. Now, they also had a set in 2016 that used the 1991 Topps design, baseball design. That is when their first album came out, 1991, the album 10. Those are my favorite because they are baseball design, and like the Eddie Vedder card is like full on Cubs uniform, like, and he's like this. So I have a few of those cards. I bought a ton of those. The 2016 are more rare. They didn't print as many, and those sell for higher end. They also have 2013 cards, which are really rare. No, well, not really rare. They're rare. And those command a much higher dollar. 2016 a little less, and then 2018 they just mass produced them, and so I bought a ton. There were a ton available at the concert, and I've sold singles. I have some in my eBay store. If they're in a Cubs uniform, I keep those, and those I do include in the Cubs collection. But I've traded off. I think TJ actually. I think I sent TJ a pack or two of the Pearl Jam from 2018. And then I sold I had like 60 or 70 packs. I opened like 10. I had 60 left. I sold some over time. I traded some away. I kept one. So I have one pack, unopened pack left that I'll save it for a rainy day. Let's see. Love the Pearl Jam cards. They've been putting them out the last few tours. Mookie has his own issues right now. I was at OU the same time as Mookie Blaylock. He was awesome to watch. I'm going to use Rich's advice starting next week and pre-sort. I'm going to do kind of a hybrid of that method where I really like Ron Berry's skew method. And when he showed it, like I know that JT uses the skew, and I know other sellers do. But when Ron posted a screenshot of how it looks, genius. So I'm going to use that moving forward, especially for baseball, because baseball takes me, even though I know baseball cards and the sets more so than any other sport, it takes me the longest to sort because there's so many different, when I list. And my problem with the pre-sort method, and I think I mentioned this on Twitter, is that when you upload to Image Shack, it places them out of order. So when you transfer over at a time, which is the quickest way to do it, if you do one at a time, it just takes longer. There's not that, you still run into the, you have to, once you get 28 on a page, you still have to go through and sort them out. So I haven't found like in a more efficient way to do that. So I'm going to continue doing just random, like when I pull cards out of boxes. Okay, this is what I'm going to list today, list them, but then I'm going to use the skew method. A1 was what I used recently, so maybe A2 for the next baseball batch, and do the same for football, because I think that, and when he showed the screenshot and the skew shows up on your page, like when you go to ship. That was my concern. Was I didn't know that was out there. I thought maybe you had to click into the actual listing to find that SKU number. But since it shows up on the actual sold page, it's much easier to locate the box, the row it's in, and pull. So I love that. I had a couple of packs from you in a trade. Great cards. Love that band. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. I'm bummed that they aren't hitting this area for their North America tour. They're also touring Europe. We had initial plans on going and seeing them in Italy at the F1 racetrack. But with all the COVID international travel, we just didn't want to do the international travel this year as we still go through COVID concerns. So I'm bummed that I think the closest they're coming to my area is St. Louis. So that sucks. TJ's got to go. Oldest has a freshman baseball game. You have a great weekend as well. Jenny's doing one at a time listing. So thanks for tuning in at an hour. I'm going to run. Tune into Hobby Hotline. That's coming up at 10 a.m. Central. Check out Hobby Hotline on YouTube. Who is on today? I will go into our, let's see. I'm sure I might have even been tagged in the promo. Let's see if I have been. Okay, Texas Card Dude is hosting today with Logan and our buddy John. That 70s card show is going to be on Hobby Hotline. So Brad, John, and Logan, that's a fearsome threesome. I love it. That's going to be a great show. So tune in. Have a great day. You too, John, Rich, everyone else. Have a great Saturday. Back on tomorrow morning for an Easter edition of Hobby Evolution. So tune in, probably same-ish time, 8 a.m. Central Time. So have a great day, and we shall see you tomorrow.